welcome to the newly renamed Haute Kewture podcast. My name is Patricia. I'm recording from Dharug Country here in Australia. And this is my little space on the internet where I talk about some of the things that I make. Could be through knitting or sewing. It's mainly knitting. I originally started this channel with the name Serial Sewist because that was my handle on Instagram. And I've recently changed that to Haute Kewture as well. Couture being misspelt in a whimsical way, and it is entirely inspired by the new Wednesday Addams series on Netflix. I've been thinking about a new name for a little while, and now is the perfect time to rebrand it because I find that my thinking around my makes extends a bit beyond the process, and it talks about what I'm looking for, how I style it, and what I'm aspiring to as well. So I'm excited. It doesn't mean that everything on this channel will change, but I think it just encapsulates my contributions to the internet, which are very minor, in a really nice way. So welcome. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. If you are new, I'm so happy that you've decided to explore and click on my channel to have a bit of a watch. It has been a little while since my last recording. I did bulk record a few segments that were in the non-traditional knitting style format. And I did that because I wanted to do something different. And I haven't recorded because I haven't felt motivated or inspired to. So I didn't want to put something out there that was going to really reflect how flat I was feeling creatively. I was also getting a bit bored with some of the content I was consuming, so I took a bit of a break from that as well. I think sometimes we get a bit saturated and overconsume the things that we really, really like, and then it's almost like a binge, and then you get satiated and you need a break. So I wasn't thinking about creating content. I was not watching much creative content either. I really focused a lot on work and life events. So you would have seen that I announced that I got engaged. So that was very lovely and not unexpected. And so I've been with my partner for quite some time now. So we had already spoken about it, but the whole way it played out was really lovely and a huge surprise. So that was really nice. I will talk a bit more about life stuff, probably in the middle or towards the end of the episode. In the meantime, I actually did get through a lot of making, not just knitting, but also I sewed 2 projects, which I have worn quite a lot. And yeah, I'm just thinking about what else I've got to talk about. It will be a bit of a longer episode because there was a bit of a gap between the last standard knitting podcast format video that I put out. So I'm like sprawled with stuff around me, and I probably have forgotten stuff, but it is what it is. I've remembered what I can, and I do have notes in front of me. So if you see me looking down, it's because I'm looking at my notes. So on that note, let's talk about some of the stuff that I've finished since we last spoke. So I finished the Good Shawl with some custom colours dyed by Mel from 3 Cats Yarns. The Good Shawl is a DK or 8-ply weight brioche shawl, which is an absolute delight to knit. So I don't have it to show you here, but I'll put a photo that I managed to take after I finished blocking it to show you how it turned out. I ended up gifting this to my mum for Christmas. We were meant to do Secret Santa, but we also did some small, like, we call them atenciones outside of Secret Santa. So they're like small gestures or tokens that you give someone. So that's what I did with the shawl for my mum. I also finished the vanilla raglan in the brush fleece by Rowan, which was initially made for my partner or my fiance. And unfortunately, it was incredibly itchy for him. He has had woolen items before, but this just wasn't meshing well with him. So I have taken that and gifted it to my dad for Christmas as well. So that's just a really, those are the two things I can't show you. So there will be photos that I will put up so that you can see what they look like. The Feel Good Shawl, I knit up almost to completion in October. And then I ripped it back because I didn't like how I had laid out the colors. So I rearranged them. But it took me like a month to finish up. It would have been sooner if I hadn't redone it all. It is a super quick knit, and I do have one planned for me in different colors, which I will show you later in this episode. And the vanilla raglan, it was just it was like a fuzzy brushed fleece mulled grey that fit my dad perfectly, almost like a really longish knit, which was good. And he didn't find it itchy at all. So I was quite pleased with that. It's going to get lots of wear. I also did a separate cast on during the month of October using some of the wool that I acquired at Fibre Fest. There are a few podcasters from the Australian podcasting community that went over to Fibre Fest and did vlogs. So go check them out if you want more of an in-depth look about what that was like. It was around the same time as the Wool and Sheep show over in New York, Rhinebeck. Anyway, I purchased some 8-ply from Bellevue Park Farm, and I made the Field Day cardigan. So hopefully you can see that. This is in there, just a beige color, and I've gotten some really pretty wooden buttons from, I want to say Black Mountain, but that's not it. I'll put it in the description below. This was a really quick knit. It was my first pattern by, you can see a drop shoulder there, by Ozetta. Really enjoyable. It knit up really quickly. I've gotten a lot of use out of it. I wanted something that I could wear in the in-between weather and wear it to work as well. It did pill quite quickly, and I ended up pilling with an electric pillar or D-pillar, almost like a full handful. And because of the color of the beige, it looks like a dust bunny that's been sitting behind some furniture. It was really gross. Hopefully it doesn't start pilling again. It is meant to be a non-superwash, so I'm hoping it was just shedding and then it'll be fine. It is a merino. It is incredibly soft, and the price point is really, I would say, affordable. I got a bag of 10 50-gram balls for under 100 Australian dollars. That was a special that they were doing at their stall at Fibre Fest. But I thought that was pretty good, given that I could squeeze out a really nice cardigan with it. I am looking at making a couple more cardigans in different other colors. I don't know if I'll use the Bellevue wool again, but I do really love how it was all knit in one go. Like the button band was knit at the same time as the rest of the cardigan, and it hasn't been rolling up. And It doesn't have the issue, well, at least for me, of sliding off the shoulders, which some people do have with cardigans. I found the drop shoulder was really good at sitting on mine, but again, I have broad shoulders, so it might just be that they are framed in a way that can keep the shoulders on. And you can see I put a tag to mark the year I made it, which says circa 2022. So all round, really happy with this finished object that is getting a lot of use in my wardrobe. The other thing that I did finish finally, which I did cast on in May this year, is the No Frills by Petite Knits. So I made it cropped version, but it's cropped enough to skim over the top of the waistband of high-waisted jeans. So it's probably longer than the waist by maybe 5 centimeters. This is in raspberry sorbet, and it's fingering merino held with suri alpaca. I don't think you can see the halo there. It's yarn by Fibre Smith, which are an Australian fabric and yarn shop business. They dye their own, they hand dye their own. So it's the first time that I've used such a variegated solid. And I don't dislike it. I think it looks really nice. It's also gotten a bit of use. It's very light, which I appreciate. I don't like things that are too heavy when it comes to wool. So I'm really pleased that I finally got that off my needles. I went through a bit of so once I gave myself permission not to have to think about creating content and not to think about recording or anything like that, I got really invigorated and motivated to try and finish anything that was already on my needles. So I did end up picking up my Louvre sweater, which I'll show you in a little bit, but I also ended up frogging some things. So I wrote them down in case I forgot. So I frogged the Kewture tee that I had been working on because the gauge was completely off. I just haven't brought myself, I haven't felt myself up to the challenge of trying it again. The lace pattern was quite easy to follow. The instructions are really great. It was just gauge. Like, I'm gonna need to go down a needle size. I'm working with Sandesgarn Tin Linne, which is like a linen blend, a linen cotton blend, so it doesn't have the elasticity that wool does. But having said that, it's still got a bit of stretch and it's not that horrible to knit with. I frogged the Gresham shawl, which was one that I featured as a whip in a couple of episodes back, where I'll put a picture up as well, but it was it's like a wrap where it's mainly a cream color and it's got like retro rainbow stripes on the end. It's beautiful. I just kind of fell out of love with it, so I frogged it. And I abandoned and frogged the cowl. Pretty much like 10% into Clue 1. I was just not enjoying it. I wasn't going to force myself to do it. I know a few people powered through and hated every minute of it, and they don't like the finished product. I just gave myself permission to frog it and not have to do anything I didn't want to do, because at the end of the day, this is something that I do that brings me joy. And I'm going to be repurposing that wool for something else that I'll mention later. So frogged those and really, really pleased with that. Got really invigorated to try and finish stuff that was already on my needles, but also cast on a couple of other things that I was going to kind of delay until January. But I think that was because I was approaching the year as something quite linear when it's something quite circular when it's linear. So I just kind of cast them on anyway. The difference between me casting it on now and January is nothing. It's just days. So I will move on to works in progress. I'm just going to have a sip of coffee first. I forgot to mention, got a haircut. I am loving it. I normally try to record when this is done fresh, because my hairdresser, I now call them pixie waves because of my hair being shorter, but before I used to call them land mermaid curls. She does these really nice waves and curls in my hair, which I will then take advantage of in recording, but I wasn't recording, so you didn't get to see that. So anyway, I cut my hair. I am wearing a finished object, which I totally forgot to mention, which was my Christmas dress. I guess you can call it that because I wore it for Christmas. It is the Bloomfield poofy sleeves by the Petite dressmaker, who's an Australian-based sewing pattern designer. I made size E with a C cup. I probably could have switched the sizing and cup sizes around, and I sewed a bit narrower of a seam than the pattern called for, just in case. And I honestly think I really didn't need to. I could have just kept to the seam allowance. It was a great sew. It came together really beautifully. I'll pop some pictures up for you to see it. I made the short version. I didn't line the sleeves, so the sleeve pattern calls for it to be lined, and I didn't do that. I wanted it to be more of a collapsed, relaxed poof rather than a structured one. I really feel like Cyndi Lauper in this, so it is a special occasions dress mainly. So sewing finished object number one. The other one, which I will insert some footage, or I think I have some footage, if not it'll be a photo, is the Shelby dress, which I made up with, I think it's called Ditzy Daisies fabric from Blackbird Fabrics. And I used some seashell buttons, which are from Kylie and the Machine. That is one of my favorite go-to patterns in terms of, I guess you can call them like a 90s skater dress. Like I really love that cut and that look. And it's been great in the hot weather. The only thing is if it's windy, it kind of flounces a bit. So that's a bit annoying. But I digress. We're moving on to, I just wanted to catch up with the other finished objects from sewing, which I had left out. Moving on to whips in progress, or whips. I have picked up and flown through my Louvre sweater. I don't know if you won't be able to see the full thing. I'm currently working on the Italian bind-off / tubular bind-off for this. I cast this on around mid-year, but only got around to the neck. Was doing the short row shaping, and then just put it aside because I'd had other things grab my attention to cast on and finish. Now with the energy and motivation to finish off things that I had started this year, or earlier this year, I'm working through this. It's the loop sweater by Petite Knits. I think I'm making size small or medium. Let's say medium. I think it's medium because it's got a lot of ease in the pattern. And once I finish the body bind off of the ribbing, I just have the sleeves left to do. So I always feel like I've made good progress when I hit sleeves. So I'm really pleased with that. No mods on that. I kept the length true to the pattern, and just didn't touch it really. It's a DK weight yarn, so it's knitting up quite nicely and quite quickly, and I'm really pleased with that. The other work in progress is a gift knit, which I have until April to finish, which is the Weekender sweater. So there's not much to show you here. The Weekender sweater by Andrea Mowry for my mum. And I'm using the Ralma Gilead or Gilead. And this is Darjeeling or Darjeeling. Can't remember how to pronounce that. It's a really nice colour. It's like a warm mustardy golden brown, and it's worsted weight. So again, it'll knit up quite quickly. And the other thing that I'm currently working on, so I'm switching between 3 at the moment, and that's something new that I'm trying out. I normally don't work on 3 separate projects at the same time, but it's been fun. And the other thing that I did cast on and I've made good progress on is the Frankie sweater by Sandnes Garn. It's in their pattern book that I got a few months ago. I got some of their Cross yarn on sale, and this is like a light grey. And I have 3 balls of yarn here because I started knitting the body along with both sleeves at the same time. You can see it's really nice and light. I think the body has to reach a certain length, and then the ribbing is something ridiculous, like 20 centimetres. So I'm almost there with that. I had thought that I could do a sleeve, body, sleeve, and then just keep doing it that way to keep progressing. But that just got really tedious and frustrating, so I stopped doing that. Again, a lot of ease in this. I think it's meant to be quite oversized, so I've made a small, but even the small is something like 110 or 115 centimetre bust, which is 5 to 10 centimetres ease for me. I actually think that's wrong. I think it might be more. So once I finish the body, I've got to pick up for the neckline, and then it'll be done. It feels like it's like a blown yarn, but it's got the thickness of a worsted weight. So again, it's knitting up quite quickly as well. And that's it in terms of whips. I'm just checking my timer. So yeah, I think before I move on to acquisitions, I'll probably talk about 2 other planned projects that I have. One of them being the use of the leftover wool from the mystery knit along. I got this from Knitty Possum, and one is superwash and one is, sorry, it's my hair. One is superwash and one is non-superwash. I can't remember which was which, but I'm going to be joining Mad About You's or Maddie's half and half triangle wrap knit along, which starts on New Year's Eve, I think. I'm making the smaller version, the one that's 2 skeins per colour. So I'm casting it on in greys because I think that'll be a good use of this yarn, and it's fingering weight yarn, and I'm excited about that. I'll give you a link to the episode that talks about all the requirements or the guidelines to enter the cast on, so that if you want to join along in the knit along, you can. I think she's given 6 months to finish it if you want to be eligible for a prize. If you're not in it for the prizes, that's cool. You just have the year to finish it, which I think is a really nice soothing knit along. Like, it's a gentle pace. We can be doing something with a bunch of people and have like a sense of community, and you're not racing to a deadline. So that's one planned project. The other is a jumper for my partner. So I got him to scroll through Ravelry. I think he must have been on there for like an hour. I filtered it, and he picked a pattern. I'll put a photo of it. It's by Bendigo Woolen Mills. It's a DK weight pattern, knit flat and seamed, I believe, which I've not done before, which is fine. I'm always happy to learn something new.
It looks like a retro men's jumper pattern, which is really sweet. But anyway, I had ordered initially what I thought was double Sunday's gown. And it's not, it's just Sunday, which means it's 4-ply, not 8-ply, which is fine, but it's not fit for purpose. So this was like they've got the colour 8082. And I guess this is borderlining on acquisitions. It's a really nice, like, hunter foresty green, but not the right yarn. And yes, I guess I could hold it double, but it's not the same. So I ended up going straight to the source and ordering a hunter green in 8-ply from Bendigo Woolen Mill. This will be the first time I'm using their wool. A lot of my knitting friends use the Bendigo Woolen Mill quite often, and they speak pretty highly of it, so I'm happy to give it a go as well. So that's my second planned object. That's, I guess, a gift knit. And I guess the other one that I've got wool for is my own feel-good shawl. So I guess we're kind of moving over into acquisitions now. So Chloe from Wool Works, I've spoken about it before. I love her stuff. She was a vendor at She Crafty, which was a physical and also online maker market day, I guess you can call it. And so if you were in Victoria, you could go physically and have a look at the store. If you weren't there in person, you were able to buy online. So, excuse me, I pre-ordered some of her DK wool for my own feel-good shawl. So I will be using Neon Lights, which is this colour, as the main colour. So I have 3 skeins of that, and this radioactive, which is like this neon green, as one of the brioche colours, and tickled pink as one of the other brioche colours. So they were all part of the same release, and I think in the speckling you can see that the same pink and green is kind of in here. So it should, in theory, the right side or the front side will be predominantly the speckled cream neon flecks, with the brioche in the first and last section being these highlighter kind of neon colours. So I'm very excited to cast that on. I've really loved knitting brioche, I think predominantly because I'm a continental knitter, so I found it easier. I've seen videos for English style or throwers rather than pickers, and it looks like quite confusing. So to me anyway. So very happy with this. I can't wait to wind it up. Speaking of winders, for Christmas I got a really beautiful wooden and resin ball winder. Put some footage of it here so you can see. It was a really beautiful Christmas present that I got from my partner. He, I don't know how I found it. I'd never seen it before. Really, really stunning. So it's upgraded my plastic one, which I'm really excited about. So that's one acquisition. The other, which is not really an acquisition, it's more of a gift from a lovely friend who went travelling overseas. I won't ask you because I don't know how introverted you are, so I don't want to publicly embarrass you by saying who you are, but you know who you are. They brought me back this beautiful colourway, which is called Fall in Brooklyn, which was the limited edition colourway that Moondrake did for the Brooklyn General Store. I got 2 skeins of this and I have no idea what I'm going to make with it, but I'm very excited about it. So I'm just going to wait until like a pattern speaks to me and to this colour, or and then use it then. So it's so lovely. It's very similar to the colourways that I got custom dyed for the Good Shawl, and it's really nice. So that was a gift. The other acquisitions that I got, which I don't know if I've shown here before, but I got this sage green cos and silk mohair from Sadness Garn when Titi was having a sale, and this will be to make another sweater that's in the Sadness Garn pattern book that has like flower bubbles, bubbles that are in the form of flowers running down the sleeve detail. So I don't remember if I showed this in my last video and I was too lazy to go back and check, so sorry. And the other 2 acquisitions that I could remember that are yarn related were these, I think these were Holst Garn, super soft. This is the colourway Venetian. I got this cone from a D-stash from one of my other knitting friends, Diana from Yarn Grotto. She's Yarn Grotto on Instagram, and like it's a beautiful work, and she's an amazing yarn collection. And this one is the colourway Truffle, which I really, really like. It reminds me of the Brooklyn Shelter yarn that I used for my weekender. It does look like a fingering or light fingering weight, so I think it's, let's see if I can put it close up. I think it'll have to be held double or triple or with a mohair. And it smells a little bit like the spinning oil, which is kind of cool. But I don't know what I'm going to make with these. I think this I might use to make a Sophie shawl or scarf for my mother-in-law, but I'm not sure yet. So those are my 2 yarn cones acquisitions. They were first ever yarn cone acquisitions. And before I show the rest of that down there, I also treated myself with birthday money, which I had kept aside. And so I got myself the thread and maple leather needle binder. This is the colourway Whiskey, and I've got 3 folio slots in there so far. I'll probably get a couple of more for my shorties so that they're all in the same spot, and then see if I can de-stash the cases that the Chiagos came in. But I love this. I have it sitting on our camphor chest as it's like a decoration. Like it's a leather binder. It looks so beautiful. And I got the larger size just because I knew like it was going to be something that I was investing in and really going to enjoy using. And the best part is that the little folios slip out into their own mini cases as well. So you can just take one of the folio slips out and it folds up into a little mini book, which is really cute. So I got cut off. I don't know at what point it happened. I know I was talking through works in progress. I showed some yarn cones, and then I was going to go into advents. And yeah, so this is my attempt number 2 at advents. I'll probably keep it a bit shorter and sweeter, and because it means you don't have to hear all my rambling. I ordered 3 advents this year. It's the first time I've ever subscribed to an advent, Yarny advent, one from Woolen Works, one from Obsession Yarns, and one from Three Cats Yarns. 2 in fingering weight and 1 in DK. This is my basket of yarny goodness. I don't know what I'm going to make with these. They're beautiful though, and they're like last day yarns are absolutely stunning. I really love this. And then Marie and Mel, both women after my own heart, with their greens. You can see I like green. And I just think it's worth the mention. The coolest little pin I ever did see for the cottagecore theme by 1121 Windmills in collaboration with Three Cats Yarns. All the little trinkets and gifts from all the makers were absolutely stunning and so thoughtful. Now I have to figure out what I'm going to do with all the yarn. I don't know yet. I have been searching patterns and we'll see. It's not urgent to use it up straight away, so I'm just going to give myself a bit of grace with that. So that's, I guess, it in terms of maker stuff. Life update wise, well, I did mention I got engaged. We've been going camping more. We've got more of the right tools and equipment to do that more often, so we're trying to do that as much as we can. I've been before I went on my holiday break from work, I was pretty busy. It's expected to be a busy period next year as well. Where I work is kind of going through a bit of growth at the moment. So whenever there's growth, that's code for super busy. And we've got my Nana, who's been in hospital since September because she broke her foot, and her rehab has been quite slow. So it's the first Christmas and soon to be New Year's that she's going to miss out on with family. And she's been in isolation because there were COVID cases in her ward. Thankfully, she doesn't have COVID, but it's still not great. In terms of everything else, our family dog, which is a dog that my parents have, got diagnosed with cancer, which is really sad. But the prognosis is 6 months, so we still get a bit more time with him, and we're just doing what we can to make him comfortable in the meantime and managing his symptoms. So he's been pretty good. You wouldn't even know he was unwell. So before my Nana did get isolated, I was seeing her roughly once a week. And I was trying to record, and she's sharing our family history with us, which is really cool. Which a lot of it kind of links back to my interests in fibre and cloth. My great grandparents used to be quite self-sufficient, I guess. So my great-grandma would make hand-sewn suits to measure, and my great-grandfather was a cobbler and he would make shoes, and my great-grandmother would buy the essentially the bags of fleece or the roving, spin it, scour it, wash it, spin it, and then knit up cloth, knit up jumpers, or weave it into a textile. So there's in Spanish there's a saying, it goes se lleva en la sangre, which is it's in your blood, essentially. You've inherited that because it's in your blood. It's innate to you, whether you knew it or not. So I find that really interesting, that I have this really strong interest in textiles and creating. And I have essentially ancestors who were also in that more out of necessity than creativity, but still pretty cool. I made some Christmas cake over Christmas, which was a tradition that I wanted to keep going because my nan was in hospital, so she couldn't do it. So everyone enjoyed that. I showed some images, and I'll put some footage of the Christmas decorations that I created using paper. I wanted to keep it quite minimal, but also timeless. And I also wanted to be quite low waste. So I didn't want to go buying stuff that was made out of plastic to decorate the house. I got nothing against people who do that. It was just something I didn't want to do. I also am not a fan of a gaudy Christmas. So I wanted something that focused more on the natural elements. So that's what I did. And I'll have to find a way to take down the garland without it completely being ruined because it is paper or paper bags. But even if it does get torn or ripped, like it's paper, it'll break down a lot more easily than other products that get thrown away. So a bit of that. I still have some more time off before I go back to work, so I am looking forward to some more knitting, some reading, some sewing as well. I have some things that I want to make. I want to make a pair of Foxy Boxies by Gracie Steele. I really need more shorts in my life, and that pattern just looks great on everyone that I've seen make it. I've got some other patterns from Vicky Sews, which I got printed on A0 paper by Fibre Smith. Really good pricing, by the way. If you're interested in getting your patterns printed, definitely check Fibre Smith out. There was one called So Make Create, but I think they're on hiatus at the moment. But let me know if I'm wrong. So I do want to do a bit more sewing. I want to remake the agave skirt in a different fabric to see how it drapes and falls. I do want to make a couple of other things, including some trousers. So I will try my hand at that. I think that's a good and useful skill to learn in terms of construction, and useful because it is very hard to find the style of trouser in the colour that I want. So inevitably, out of necessity, I will just make it myself. I also did promise my partner that I would eventually make him a shirt, so I need to learn how to do that too. But that's an ongoing goal, not an immediate goal. But I do already have the fabric, and I have the pattern to make like a flannel shirt, and it's a really nice fabric from Blackbird Fibres, so I will get on that. It's more like you have to like interface stuff. Not that I'm scared of making a shirt. It's the extra steps required. So if I can avoid interfacing, I will avoid interfacing. Like I didn't interface anything on this dress. Like I meant to interface the neckline and the zipper. I didn't do that. I was meant to line the sleeves. I didn't do that because I wanted like a collapsed sleeve rather than a really structured, poofy Cyndi Lauper sleeve. Yeah, I'm a bit of a sewing rebel sometimes, but for pants you need to interface, and for shirts you need, and blouses that have like a placard and collar, you need to interface. That's how you get the stiff structured look. So I will just deal with it. And yeah, I think there's lots to look forward to in the new year. I've started to think of time as more linear than circular. I know it sounds really weird, but I think I grew up for most of my life thinking about the calendar year as a circle, so like a cycle, so January to December, so you're starting at the top and then working your way down and going back up. As I've gotten older, I just think of it more as linear, so it's not about because new year, new you. Definitely not one of those people. I used to be. I worked on my relationship with myself and I guess my self-esteem and my like food relationship, which meant that it reset a lot of that, which included the cyclical thinking about a year, which is why I just didn't care to start casting on stuff now as opposed to January. Like, what difference does it make? Like, I have time now. I'll do it now. I think I'm a bit rambly, so I might end it there. But I think in terms of things that have been going on, that's a lot. And it essentially. So I don't know when the next episode will be out. I am not putting pressure on myself to put out stuff often, and I'm going to do it at the pace that I enjoy, when I feel inspired, when I feel creative, rather than forcing it. This is something that I do for fun, to essentially have a video journal of the different things that I'm making at different points in time and sharing different acquisitions and experiences, in case others find it helpful. Like, I find it helpful watching information about some of the quality of the yarn, as well as was a pattern good or crap to make, were the instructions clear or not. So I can 100% say that the instructions for the field day and for the no frills were 100% clear. There was no mistakes that I came across. There was nothing that I kind of had to work out for myself. The wool so far from Fibre Smith has not peeled at all. And I'm suspecting that the wool from Sanders Garn for the Cos yarn, the blown wool, will be great as well. So, yeah, I will keep you posted. I will maybe do a bit of a bingo card tick off of some of the project cards that I've got going at the moment. I've got a few that I've ticked off, but I haven't actually ticked them off. But until then, look after yourselves and each other. Stay safe. I hope you get to spend this weird in-between period in the holidays in the best way that serves you. I know that it can get really difficult for people who maybe aren't close to family, or who don't celebrate, or who have other challenges in their life that make this a difficult period. I'm sending you a big hug so that you can find some light there for you. And on that note,